example is how to automate requirements analysis and particular extraction of security concerns from specification documents. So a smaller reminder, so what we address, what kind of needs we address. As you can all witness that requirements come in very different ways. Many times they are unstructured, meaning that like if you see the user feedback, okay, system does that, system doesn't do that, it should do that in that way. And many times it's a kind of discussion with developers, and it's not particularly structured in the way like software developers are used to have that, saying that system should do that, system should not do that in this context, with specific stimulus, response, conditions, context, descriptions. So they're not structured in such a way. So they can come on in various ways. However, so those requirements can also be scattered all over the specification documents, not necessarily be labeled by the writers or kind of engineers who prepared the documents, specification documents, as security ones. So that makes it difficult to locate them, properly address and verify them in the right way. So we need specific assistant tools that address that. So to give you an example, here I have a document by National Institute of Standard Technologies on specific systems like software requirement specification to distribute manufacturing data. And it's a nice document, and actually we're really happy that we have this example. It gives a lot of information about how the system should behave, what it should do. And also we have some of the security requirements, which we can find. Let me find it. Security, yeah. Security requirements. And actually, one of the problems that you can see that not everything related to security is in this security chapter, and for the rest, we should wonder. And while we have this kind of like subchapter on security requirements, it's not all about security. So if it only, like security specialist only consider this one, it's there is not much things that the specialist can do. So first of all, I mean, there is much more security requirements in the document than just those that are represented in this section. Second, if you can see, these security requirements are very much generic, right? So, like for this one, software security system defined in this document must follow industry recommended practices for secure software development. Okay, so it's not completely concrete. So what kind of recommendations it should follow, which are really recommendations that applies to the system? So that's not known. So we have another one like, okay, at minimum software development must practice principle of at least privileges for defining access level requirements to software system and associated services. While it gives more details, but still it's not very much of information here. And so developers can wonder what should be the methods that they should use. So for that, actually, we developed a couple of methods to address that, to assist and help with understanding those things. So first of all, we have security requirements extraction prototype, where we take documents, extract sentences from the documents, apply specific language models like BERT to classify them and kind of discover from sentences the sentences that represent requirements. And from sentences, a list of sentences that represent requirements, what we do, we also use specific model, pre-trained model that trying to understand what is security-related requirements and getting out the list of those security requirements. So, to show you how this works, I have here a small prototype. Okay. So where I have this specification loaded, and I can run the system. I can run the system on the document that we saw previously, and actually I can see some complementary requirements, not specifically mentioned in these 3 sentences. So this is 3 sentences that we discovered in the document. However, there is much more things that relate to security, like client-side components of software system must operate within common web browser environment using secure socket layer cryptographic protocol with specific encryption. So users must be authenticated with specific login pages, which also relates to security, right? And there is also some indications on kind of privileges and roles. So, which is, if you can actually look into the sentences here, they are not specifically mentioning those aspects which also relate to security. So the idea is that the model helps you, assist you, and gives a bit more, let's say, information about what relates to security in the document, and gives you more requirements to deal with when developing a system with the security in mind, right? The second problem that I mentioned is that we need specific concrete guidelines, okay? So if you look at this requirement, at minimum, software developer must practice the principle of least privileges for defining access level requirements, okay? For the system software and associated services, okay? It's very long requirement, not necessarily understanding what is least privilege, how to address it in context of my system, and so on. So what we can apply is to try to locate what would be the relevant guidelines from specific security technology implementation guide. All right, it gives quite a huge list of specific requirements from various platforms and various systems, so on which developers can deploy their applications, quite a huge list. And for each of them, I can actually find tons of requirements, right? However, if I just blindly use that and kind of try to use that one as a kind of search string, so I would not find anything in the database for some reasons. So instead, we need specific semantic search algorithms, because what we want to use is that we want to find very close, let's say semantically close recommendations from the database that actually close to this particular query or this particular requirement. For that, we can use something that's called semantic search, in the way that that we kind of vectorize the query, we vectorize recommendations, text samples, and we use, let's say, specific semantic similarity algorithms to find the most, let's say, close vectors. So this indicates actually semantic similarity. So we build up a specific algorithm for that. So for this stick database, we have all data that we have vectorized. When we call this prototype, we vectorize our security requirement, and with specific similarity scores, we find out like relevant recommendations. So let me show how this works. So, for example, we had our least privilege requirement. So in case my system runs in Ubuntu, okay, I can actually locate some of the recommendations with various severity levels. And here, for example, the system says about how to address the user privileges in the system and how the audit system should be configured to verify this kind of things. And if I want the concrete example about that, I can go in the database and actually see specific scripts and specific fixed text about this recommendation and how that should be addressed in my system. So this gives you a bit of understanding about how this formalization mechanism should work. And our idea is that when we receive the documents or very high-level requirements, we can locate concrete requirements in database of predefined requirements, or go and specify those requirements with specific other techniques. So here I showed you how we can deal with the existing database of recommendations. In our next talks, which comes after my talk, we will discuss how to formalize requirements with different other notations so that we can automate working with and designing the PLC systems. Okay, I think I'm finished with my set of presentations. I thank you very much for your attention.